Welcome everyone. Adam the Woo here as the recording of this Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. 30 years ago, the third part of the Hellraiser series, not the sequel, but the sequel to the sequel, if you will, and the first of that horror franchise ever to be filmed in the United States, took place in the greater Greensboro area, High Point as well. And I'm gonna show the locations. I'm gonna go around and see what remains. Now, quite a bit, fictionally, I would be standing in New York City, but it was not in NYC. It was in North Carolina. Who knew? I have procured myself a piping hot caffeinated beverage. I will be on the lookout for Pinhead and his Cenobites. I'm inviting you to join me. Cheers. Shall you? Now I'll be showing this a little out of sequence, out of continuity. Just because I'm starting here, I'm going to be heading over into Greensboro. I am now in High Point at this furniture factory, which stood in for the club owned by JP, who is not a nice guy. JP Monroe. Now this building has changed quite a bit, where Joey, short for Joanne, nickname for Joanne, turned this very corner. And in the film itself, you can see the street signs. And very interesting is right up here is where the entrance to the boiler room was. Now this road, this is the corner of Commerce and Elm Street. Not Nightmare on Elm Street, even though part 3 is a vast departure, especially with the attitude of Pinhead. He reminds me a lot of Freddy Krueger. Maybe that's why I kind of enjoy the third one. A lot of people do not like it, but I find a little weird enjoyment in it on how campy and almost comical it is at times, and how happy he was and jovial compared to the first two. Could be just me. So it's just interesting that this first spot and other spots, even over in Greensboro, are on real life Elm Streets. Kind of reminds me of Freddy Krueger. Pinhead reminds me of Freddy Krueger in this one. Now when Joey turns that corner, once again, that building down there has been redone. She's looking for her cameraman, whose vehicle is parked right over here. His name was Doc. And right in front of where Doc's car was the entrance to the boiler room, which was shown right here. In fact, this fence was not there at the time, but this water cylinder can be seen. And right about here was the little archway that was like burning with some flames. Just to give a little perspective, there is Doc's vehicle parked on the side. Now the stairs that lead up, those metal stairs have been removed, but down at the far end is another little tiny set of stairs that leads up to the little fire escape there. So basically the angle would have been like this. Now the car that just pulled up beside me is the owner of the building. She said she'll be back in about 20 minutes, and she said she's gonna let me inside. So there's some spots I didn't think I was gonna be able to get to. And if she does come back, I'll be able to get inside, which would be pretty dang cool. Joey parked in front of Doc's car right up here, where this Antique and Design Center is now. Walked around, opened the door, calling for her partner. She was a newscaster, he was the cameraman. And then walked right along here, where the entrance to the Boiler Room Club, owned by JP, very popular place, was. That archway had the fire across it, spelled out boiler room. You'll also notice the color palette and everything on the stairwells up there. All that still looks the same 30 years later. Okay, notice this window with the kind of slats on the glass window and all that, and where the utility boxes is just overhead, and this big metal bay door. That big metal bay door has been changed to that glass door, but here is that very unique and distinctive window with the little slats going down, and all those electrical boxes were right here where these little metal holders are. And you can tell by the incline of the road as well. This is Commerce, corner of Elm and Commerce. Now, even though I mentioned how the stairwells are painted red still, back then, back in 1992, the little water tank was painted blue. So between the water tank and where the fence now is, and you see over here on the left is like some electrical well, big electrical outlets or boxes. Those have been updated, but they are these green ones. So right here, in this precise spot, was the entrance, the little stairwell leading up. They had some stairs right along here, 2 or 3 going up, and the entrance in, right in there. And then the cut stopped and went to another angle up inside the building itself. I'm also noticing there were a couple pillars that the little archway with the fire was on top of. You see the stairwell there next to Doc's vehicle going up the side of that incline. Notice those 2 concrete pillars with the stairwell with the fire. This is one of those pillar holders because it's in the same spot. They probably just used this. I don't know whatever happened to the other one that was there. This spot is also known as Market Square, top of the hill. Those are the cross streets there. Oh, there it is. There's the staircase that was pulled down, so they didn't remove it. That's the one that was pulled down. It's just kind of put away. Now, I've just walked down the hill and turning that corner. Just want to show how unusual this area almost looks like a Hollywood backlot. It's not. It's a furniture factory. Look, they even have the cranes there. A lot of crane angles in that film as well. I feel like I'm on a Hollywood backlot. And that right up there is Elm Street. So if you take Elm, turn this corner, and then turn this other corner, that's the spot here in High Point. I'm waiting patiently. It's kind of eerie. It's so quiet out here.
All these fire doors open to other parts.
So this is really called the boiler room?
Yeah.
Wow. Because in the movie, the club's called the boiler room.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then so where I think you're talking about is up here in this hallway.
Because there was a moment when the character's name is JP, he's kind of looking over this rail. And I think this was the entrance to the club here. So this might have been his apartment right over in here.
Maybe so, and then, or it could have been something with this, you know, this area back in here. And then if you look through here, you can see the tops of those skylights that we just walked past. We just use all this for storage.
Okay.
But if you look out there,
Oh yeah, that's it, right up there.
yeah.
That's it, where she's walking. And there's like a red staircase she walks up to.
And it's probably right here. Or maybe down a little further. It also could be this staircase here.
I think it's this one right here. I think it's this one right here, yeah.
Of the fire doors.
Okay.
So it's probably that one back there.
Yeah. Yeah, this looks exactly the same.
I'm sure it hadn't changed much.
That is so neat. I should have been standing right underneath that pipe looking up that staircase, and that's where the swinging door is. That is awesome.
They'll have most of these windows blacked out.
Yeah, that's the angle right there where she's just like standing right underneath that pipe looking up that staircase. I could see why they filmed up here though. This is pretty neat looking. And there she is right there. There's the angle of her looking up at that door. And then here's the sunroof, the little sun windows where she's walking across right before she looks up the staircase. Yeah, just going off of a hunch, I think this was his apartment. And he kind of looked over and the bar area was down there. Obviously it's been repurposed, but this angle here looks very familiar. Let's see if I can find a kind of match it up once I get back to my car. This angle where he's kind of looking down. Wow. All right, I'm looking at it now, and these are the same. It's not only the same bar, well, the bars from around this corner, but also the same bar down there when Pinhead shows up and kind of destroys everything and everyone. And the one guest is launched off of this railing It goes right down here. There's some serious havoc being wreaked in here. Yeah, this is definitely the spot after rewatching the clips. Just amazing that's the same bar right there, same one that they were behind. And the fact that it really is called the Boiler Room. I was not expecting that. All right, that just happened. I have to say a huge, huge thank you to her for letting me in there and showing me around, showing me the little section there on the roof and all that, and where his apartment was, where the actual bar was. I just thought I was going to see this, the entrance to the Boiler Room here. And that property is only utilized a couple of times a year for events and vendors, furniture vendors. It's not even open to the public and not even open to those who want to buy anything except a couple times a year. I have now taken the 20-minute commute in my car to downtown Greensboro, and look at the name of this street as well. I will be crossing over another elm right here, 500 block, onto East Lewis, where the intro, which stood in for New York City, took place right down here past that no outlet sign. Not New York City at all, North Carolina. And right over here is one of the first moments in the film. And it looks as if the Pyramid Gallery logo is still here on the side. What the heck? 3 decades later, this still has the Pyramid Gallery logo. That's interesting. This was the antique, well, art museum where JP showed up at the beginning and got the big sculpture, the turning sculpture. Look at this, it's the same windows down here, same stair. Even this is noticeable when you watch it, this little crack in the pavement. And they have left the little marquee up on the side that says Pyramid Gallery with the pyramid. Now there he is walking in. Of course they had some shades pulled down. No shades anymore, but I am really surprised that they have left this exactly how it was, with the words in the window and everything. Obviously, this has not really been used in 30 years. But he pulled up right there, lit his cigarette. He smoked a lot through the whole entire film. Pulled his car up, a little close-up of his boots down here, and then panned up. And this was used a little bit later when both the girls showed up and the door was locked. And across the way, the guy said that no one's been here in a month, which was not true. And then they went around the back, see if they could get in the back. Yeah, check out there above the stairs, the crack in the pavement right at the top of the stairs when they show up. They're knocking, no answer to the door. That's the same crack. And up here on the side, I'm noticing this little light, whatever the mount is on the side of the brick, that's been removed. And I would imagine they used a set as the interiors. However, when he walks in, and he's kind of just window shopping, and you see from the interiors looking out, they did recreate it with the windows with this same angle like this when he walks in. So it's a possibility they use the interiors. Peeking in the window, this is what it looks like inside. Right about over there in that corner. I am definitely leaning towards the fact that it was a set, but if it was the interiors, I just wanted to showcase what the real interiors look like. And it's the same wooden doors. These same wooden doors that were painted green. You can even see the green paint has peeled off over the years. These are the same doors walking in and out of. I just love the, look at it, you can see the reflection of the Pyramid Gallery there. Reflection off the glass. That's 30 years old. That's like a movie prop in real life, just like mounted on the side of this window. And it's very interesting too, there are some cigarettes down here. I guess he was here, smoking. Yeah, those are probably not left over, but just kind of a fun fact. And when the gentleman's walking his dog, talking to the two ladies from across the way, you can see the Greensboro signs underneath there. There was like a pull-down door, and he's walking his dog right over in that section. The angle was kind of like this. Of course, because it stood in for New York City, they had to paint over where it says Greensboro. They painted like warehouse over where it now says Greensboro, but that's the same angle there and then he's looking back across at them standing there while he's walking his dog. And if you look very faintly, you can see a mural over here on the side of the brick and a Coca-Cola sign that kind of makes its way into the frame, getting from the little puppy standpoint down below there. I'll show this angle as well from the ground, or at least as close as I could, because this car is over off to my side, is kind of obscuring the exact precise angle, but that's it. That Coca-Cola sign's still there. Look at that. The Pyramid Gallery, all these years later, still exists. This is peeking in the back window here. Not, well, I'm assuming not where they filmed the interiors when they were kind of browsing. I just kicked all these little pebbles down here. Where they were browsing through the paperwork, trying to get some clues together. None of these windows really match up. Obviously a studio set of some sort. When they walked around the back, so they would have walked around the back here. You don't see these doors in the movie, but just showing around the back of the property here as well. And this building has seen better days, all boarded up the windows. And here's the opening moment after the opening credit sequence. They matte painted the New York City skyline over this little street in North Carolina. Right over there. So that's where I'm standing right now. I'll kind of get this angle too, but they superimposed and matte painted in New York City skyscrapers. Gotta love movie magic. You would never know it wasn't New York City. Oh, now we know, over time, you know. Oh, I hear a train. Adding in some ambiance of a train going by behind me. NYC? Nope. North Carolina. Greensboro, to be exact. About a half a mile up the way, still on the same road, Elm. I am in downtown Greensboro now. Not too far from where I just was. Where a very climactic scene, and the culmination and beginning of that scene is right here on the corner of February 1 and South Elm, next to the very historic former Woolworths, where the sit-in back in 1960 or 59 or 60 happened. It's on this very same road. They still have the Woolworth sign and the counter is still in there. But the scene from the film happened down at the end of the Woolworth Company sign, down there at the end. I'll kind of frame it all up. She started running out right over here. In fact, this fence still here after all these years, and this electrical box. They did a really good job at not showing during the filming of the FW Woolworths Company, but you do see this awning as well as that tiny little awning protruding out right over there. And there was a fire hydrant that has been removed that was right here along in this section. You know, but 3 decades later, I guess they removed the fire hydrant, which is kind of strange. Usually fire hydrants are not removed. But she starts by running up this little incline, and you can see in the distance the very unique architecture of that building as she turns this corner. And as she turns the corner, there is a cab right here that almost hits her. And the cab goes over and hits a pole in the general area where that was. It was a fake pole that fell over, but you could see these windows and that big bay door over there. Now the jeweler's awning has been taken down there, but there's the pole the cab hit, and there was another corner that the sidewalk has been extended. But you could see, and matching up, once the cab hits that pole, you'll see what I mean. But it looks a lot different. And if you look closely in that moment, there was a cheerwine machine right underneath the February 1 entrance awning there that extended a lot farther out. And that building off in the distance, the archway of the door is still the same. It looks so different on this from this side. But the fake pole that the cabbie hit was right about here under these sets of windows, 3 windows and 1 boarded up window, which would have been right here directly behind where I was just standing. And you can see there's the 3 windows and the boarded up window. So fake pole here, smashed into that, and then there is an angle here, kind of low down, showing the cab kind of crushed into the pole. And where she is fighting off the electric wires that are kind of all circulating around her head, she's flailing her arms. Right here in front of these glass doors. Glass doors have been replaced, but this is the spot where she was trying to be almost being electrocuted through here. It was right about here where the fire hydrant was, where the water was being emitted very forcefully upward. Cheerwine machine was right there, and I could tell that because that's where the awning started, and also the architecture of the concrete there, right along there, and the way he kind of faced that way, it looks the same too if you watch that scene. Also, when the cab driver gets out of the car, the DJ, or the guy called him CD head, flails the CD into the noggin of the cab driver. But before that, Joey's running along here. The water is just going at a very rapid pace along the ground, sparks flying everywhere. And right over here, she turns this corner at this sign that says Myers. And she can be seen right here, right next to this very unique little pillar. And this is the same exact little drain where the chains pop out and try to get her. She's standing right across the way in front of that Myers sign, but the chains are underneath there. They had all the props set up, and they go towards her at a rapid pace. So they almost catch her right there, but they slipped out. They slipped off of her skin and clothes, and she was able to kind of carry on. But there's that sign and the very unique pillar that she's kind of darting around that says Myers. I'm kind of getting this angle, trying not to get the glare, right next to where she was, in the same spot. And this just really fascinates me. I'm totally nerding out right now about that little drainage area, the sewer grate. That's the same one. Watch out for chains popping out of there. There they are, kind of flailing out of the side. Notice the little crosswalk there over to the side, those little kind of bricks that go across the walkway. All right, it looks as if they have redone the little crosswalk. They have not redone the little sewage area there. It even has a little manhole on it and everything. She then runs right past this very spot. There is some flames and whatnot, just kind of effervescently flowing from a pole right about there. And then she runs down this very road, down this section, and they are definitely on a crane where they go up really high, a really good kind of aerial view, about 10 feet higher than where I am now, downhill. I think it was a pretty well choreographed scene, a lot happening. Those stunt actors in the cars, things blowing up. Look at this little wall over here. That's what I'm walking past. So I'm walking down the sidewalk, and that wall I just pinpointed is that wall there. So I'm kind of walking parallel to where she was running down through this section of downtown. Now, a lot of these storefronts and businesses look a lot different. They have repurposed them over the years. But I was able to figure out exactly where, well, I could not find the spot where the manhole cover kind of flies towards her. That storefront looks a lot different, but I did pinpoint where the TV scenes, where she leans over, she's trying to catch her breath, and then sees the TVs. The TVs were right here in this yarn store called Gate City Yarns, completely been redone, but this is where the TVs were. The reason I know that is because the address scene, right when she walks past it, there was a door right here. Okay, kind of tough to see, it's blurry, but 229.5, which is the same spot that I am now standing. And as she kind of like slows down, she stands right next to that, which would have been this, which looks a little bit different than it did back then where the TVs were. And when she looks across at her former partner, the newscast, Doc, he's walking across from this angle too. You can see where he's walking across, just adjacent to this. Oh wow, I'm just discovering this. So the awning, the lower awning down here looks the same, except I think they built onto, they extended this out, and notice how this corner piece is with the screws there. You notice how there's like a separate piece. I believe that they created the TVs into the walkway of what is the current storefront, because this still looks the same. And then when they kind of exploded the TVs, this is the walkway into that store. But pay attention down here to the way this looks. It looks as if they extended this out, because this is the angle I was just showing. So she would have been like this, standing against the TVs. So instead of destroying the storefront, they just destroyed something they built onto this. It makes sense to me after seeing that frame. It makes sense. And then Camera Head, her former partner Doc, has a camera wedged in his noggin, comes walking across, and notice that little embankment behind him as he's crossing. That's a little brick embankment, and the building across the street with the window still looks the same. Right about there, same building across the way, and there's that little brick embankment. Now a few feet over, but this is kind of the angle, more or less. That's pretty dang cool. And before the window is destroyed, she runs away. And notice just over her shoulders, this kind of tin unique little pillar there. Yeah, that's standing right next to where I'm showing this too. And the awning down there on the end has been removed, but that tin unique pillar I was just talking about is this one. So they built on the facade onto that. That's the same tin area there where she was kind of running away, and then the window was destroyed. The fake window they built on this yarn store. Some great lines when they're going down this street. Ready for your close-up, Joey? She goes past this theater. There's another theater you're gonna see the exterior of, but she runs right underneath this. Some great, it's a quirky film. Oh, they still have their wreaths up, even into February. Once again, movie magic. She appears from down there, and then instantaneously is up here on this corner, which you assume she's going the other way, but really it's back up here toward this other theater, back on the corner of East February 1 and Elm again, and she runs right past this very pillar. It continues to go up, and it is really a lot of action taking place through here, with the bottom of this marquee emitting a lot of interesting things are happening right through here. She did a pretty good job running along here. Bottom of the marquee just kind of, all the lights and everything go everywhere. And then across the way, right over there is the brick wall that the bartender comes busting out of. Well, he was the bartender, and he was emitting flames out of his face. It busted through that very wall. Here's what the bottom of that marquee looked like. Action-packed. Now before he busts out, you can see the brick wall, which obviously they use a fake brick wall with foam bricks, probably on a set somewhere, but the brick wall there looks the same, almost the same formations of the bricks that's in the same spot across the way. So take a look at that and let's match the bricks up. Isn't that interesting? They had a construction banner going across, kind of shielding all of this so you couldn't see it. But these bricks look pretty much identical with the coloration and everything and the pattern of them, directly across from that theater. And the Woolworths here, where she first started the chase, going down that way, all shot out of context and out of continuity, different directions, passing the theater and then ending. Mail truck has moved too since I was down there filming, but ending down there at that intersection. Right at this very busy intersection of East Market and South Elm, they had two cruisers right here. She was trying to explain, to the officers, "What? We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here." And the two cruisers did not survive there. And this building here could be seen as everything culminated right underneath this very building in this very street. Kind of a very funny scene is when the bartender, or was the bartender, ended up, he'd always bring his alcohol with him and kind of spitted it out, threw it over there towards the cars that were here in this intersection. And the one officer was like, "Gasoline!" Yet it was only about 3 ounces of gasoline, which culminated into quite an effervescent amount of flames up the side of this and right here in the middle. Dramatic. So good. So corny and cheesy, but fantastic. And it all, well, it wasn't quite the very end, but pretty towards the end of the film, happened right here, looking down Elm. Right like that. There's one final spot I want to find, the front of the church building. And that'll be it. And I think I've covered everything as far as the exteriors. Interiors as far as stuff like that on sound stages and whatnot, but exteriors, it's got most of the spots. Now the building itself is very noticeable and unique. It's pretty easy to figure out because of the circular pattern there on the middle as she runs up the last set of stairs. I always wonder about how productions go, because as the story goes, they wanted to utilize the inside of one of the local churches, if not this one that they use the exterior for, and they said no. None of the congregations in town wanted a scene of those proportions which understandably, evil Pinhead inside, doing horrible things inside their building. But it makes me wonder, when she ran up this, did they have permission to utilize this, or did they just get it real quick? Because the scene only lasts about 10-15 seconds as she goes up the side. I believe the camera kind of starts down here. In fact, you can see the blemishes down here where the rock work is, and then she just kind of goes up. The angle's like that, and then as she goes farther up, you see the bottom portion of that. And the priest was played, you know, on a soundstage, because they were not allowed to be inside here, by Clayton Hill, who was in Romero's '78 Dawn, the sweater zombie. I got to meet him once at a convention years ago before he passed. Pretty neat that he was also in Hellraiser 3. And that's gonna do it for today from the Greensboro High Point area of North Carolina. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is over. Or as Doc would say, you know, he had he was the camera head, had the camera embedded in there. Pinhead did that to him. That's a wrap.